You are looking at a masterpiece, a triumph of artistry and engineering designed to be the highest quality instrument of its kind and manufactured to meet those design standards and provide a lifetime of beautiful music. You know the name, Vincent Bach, made by the Selmer Company in Elkhart, Indiana. They're simply the finest brass instruments being made today, preferred by symphonic, jazz, and popular musicians around the world.
Hello, I'm Tom Kramer, and for the next 15 minutes or so, we're going to be taking a closer look at some of these beautiful instruments. We're going to be looking at bells, lead pipes, and bores, and discuss just what goes into designing and manufacturing Bach brass winds.
We're going to take a close look at valves. Then we're going to discuss the different kinds of instruments Bach makes and help you select exactly the right one for your performance needs.
But first, a few words about how Bach brass instruments came to be among the finest and most preferred in the world. Believe it or not, it all started right here with a broken mouthpiece.
Vincent Bach was born Vincent Schrotenbach on March 24, 1890 in Baden bei Wien, Austria. His father died when Vincent was only 6, and Vincent's stepfather, who had the opinion that all musicians were lazy good-for-nothings, discouraged his musical studies and sent him to engineering school. Still, by the time he finished his engineering training, Vincent had made his fame as a trumpet soloist throughout Western Europe. Largely because English audiences found the name Schrotenbach difficult to pronounce, he changed it to Bach. Vincent came to the United States on a concert tour in 1913. He was much in demand as a performer and played with the Boston Symphony Orchestra and Metropolitan Opera House opera and ballet orchestras. This early recording of Vincent Bach demonstrates some of his skill as a trumpet player. During a concert stop in Pittsburgh, a repairman convinced Vincent he could improve the mouthpiece on Vincent's trumpet and proceeded to ruin it. For years, Vincent searched for a suitable replacement. In the meantime, he worked on his own mouthpieces in a back room at the Selmer Music Store in New York. Realizing the need for high-quality mouthpieces, Vincent put his engineering background to work. In 1918, he invested $300 in a foot-operated lathe and opened an office in New York City to produce mouthpieces. The business grew rapidly as word of the quality of Vincent's mouthpieces spread. By 1924, he was manufacturing trumpets. Musicians found Bach trumpets to be of such uncompromising quality, they referred to them as the Stradivarius of trumpets. Thus, the name was born. Over the years, Vincent Bach continued to develop new instruments from his unique perspective as both an engineer and a musician. He was a tireless promoter of brass instruments, a much sought-after speaker, and author of several works on instrument design and technique.
In 1961, at the age of 71, Vincent Bach sold his company to the Selmer Company. Even though he had higher offers, Vincent believed Selmer would maintain the traditions of quality and excellence he had insisted upon for so many years. For more than 30 years, Vincent Bach's legacy has been Selmer's responsibility. And for more than 30 years, we've been manufacturing Vincent Bach brass instruments to the exacting standards Bach developed and demanded. But what are these standards? What are the considerations that go into making a world-class trumpet? And how does Selmer ensure consistent high quality in Bach trumpets? Let's find out, beginning with the largest and most critical component of the trumpet, the bell.
More than any other single component, the bell influences the sound of the brass instrument. The sound can be colored by a number of factors, among them the materials used for the instrument, the weight of the finished bell, the flare or shape of the bell, the quality of the manufacturing process itself, and the finish.
Bach's Stradivarius instruments begin as sheets of premium-grade brass, either yellow brass or gold brass, which has a higher copper content and produces a darker, warmer tone. For an even richer tone, Bach offers as an option the Sterling Plus bell, formulated from 99.9% pure silver. Not all these sheets of brass are the same weight either. Bach trumpet bells come in light, standard, and heavy weights.
A thinner, lighter brass responds more quickly to attack and tends to sound a little brighter, while heavy bells made from a thicker brass sheet contain the sound more and carry a darker tone. Standard bells fall somewhere in between and are excellent all-around performers. All Bach Stradivarius brass bells feature one-piece construction, which produces a richer, purer sound than bells made from two pieces of brass. Sterling Plus bells are seamless, one-piece construction. It is also a more painstaking, time-consuming process, but that's what's required to make a Bach Stradivarius. To begin, a Bach craftsperson traces the desired bell pattern on a sheet of brass, then cuts out the shape using tin snips. Now the bell is ready to really take shape. A craftsperson wraps the blank around a specially designed steel mandrel and hammers the brass into the flare required for this particular instrument. The shape of the bell is extremely important to the sound of the instrument. Flare is especially critical. The rim diameter of these bells is identical, but the bell with the fast flare will produce a warmer, darker tone, while the more gradually flared bell gives a more brilliant sound. While in the annealing forge, the bell seam is brazed. The bell will undergo several heat-treating steps during the manufacturing process to keep it malleable, ready for the next craftsman's touch. The bell is rounded out and hammered again, and pushed through a press under intense pressure, giving the seam area the same precise thickness as the rest of the bell. The bell is placed on a special forming mandrel on a lathe, where it's spun and carefully shaped by an expert craftsperson. This is a critical operation, since it affects both sound and appearance. These craftspeople shape the flare, trim the bell rim, and insert a wire in the rim for increased strength and projection. This is followed by leading or soldering the rim and wire. At the bending station, Bach trumpets are bent with a technique involving ice, developed by a Bach engineer. The bell is filled with water and a special chemical mixture, frozen, and bent into the proper final shape.
And that, in a nutshell, is how Bach bells are made. There are faster, less expensive ways to make them, but they simply don't measure up to the quality professionals around the world expect of Vincent Bach. You can see how critical the bell is to the sound of a trumpet, but it's not the only thing that affects the sound. Another component that has a huge impact on the sound of all brass instruments is the very unglamorous little section of tapered brass tubing known as the lead pipe.
The lead pipe controls air velocity to provide each instrument with a specific sound quality. As with the bell, it is the lead pipe's degree of taper or venturi that is important. The fast taper yielding the warmer, darker tones, with the slower taper producing a more brilliant sound. The longer the lead pipe, the more gradually it can be tapered, providing a more solid or centered feel to the player. Venturi is the technical name for any gradual narrowing inside a pipe. The smallest point is known as the throat. As a column of air approaches the throat, velocity increases, while at the same time, pressure decreases. Essentially, the venturi gives the trumpet player some resistance to blow against. And since different players prefer different degrees of resistance, Bach offers a variety of lead pipes. Bach trumpets feature two different basic lead pipe designs. In standard construction, the lead pipe is fitted to a tuning slide receiver, which then accepts the tuning slide. In reversed construction, the lead pipe is inserted into the tuning slide, allowing for extra length. This creates a more open, less resistant feel. Beginning with a length of standard brass tubing, The lead pipe is drawn on a mandrel with steel or lead rings that give it the precise desired shape. After the lead pipe is cut to length, the mouthpiece receiver is soldered onto it, a critical step requiring great accuracy. Any misalignment can severely damage the trumpet's response and resistance level.
This leads us to a discussion of bore. One of the biggest misconceptions among musicians is that an instrument's bore size primarily determines its playing characteristics and tone quality. Not true. We've talked about how the venturi opening and the rate of taper in the lead pipe and flare in the bell affect the instrument's sound. And in fact, they are more important than the bore size. The best place to begin is with a definition. When you hear a reference to a medium-large bore trumpet or see bore size measured in thousandths of an inch, just what does it mean? Bore refers to inside diameter, but when we refer to bore in trumpets, we're not talking about the bell diameter or the lead pipe diameter. Quite simply, a trumpet's bore is a measurement of the inside diameter of the second valve slide. And while other components of the trumpet can have a greater impact on the instrument's tone, bore can't be ignored.
In general, the larger the bore size, the bigger the sound. But remember that a larger bore instrument also offers less resistance to blow against. Medium bore trumpets offer more resistance while producing less volume of tone and carrying power.
Most Bach trumpets feature bells and lead pipes that correspond more or less to bores.
When describing B-flat trumpets, for example, a medium bore trumpet is matched with a 25 lead pipe and a 38 bell to complement and maintain a more compact, centered sound. In contrast, the Bach extra-large bore trumpet utilizes a 25-0 lead pipe and a 43 bell to create a broader sound with less resistance. For an all-around and versatile sound, Bach's most popular trumpet consists of a medium-large bore with a 25 lead pipe and a 37 bell.
The unique sound of Bach's Vindobona trumpet combines the feel of a smaller bore with the darker sound normally associated with larger bore trumpets. This is achieved by matching a 43 lead pipe to a conical tuning slide, a medium-large bore valve, and a 72 fast flare bell. The result is a bigger sound with less blowing effort. And this takes us to the final component in our trumpet discussion. In many ways, it's the most complicated process of all. It's a part of the trumpet that has to work silently and be perfectly aligned. Of course, I could only be talking about the valves.
Bach's pistons are made exclusively of Monel metal, a non-corrosive material that, properly maintained, will last a lifetime. Portholes are drilled in the piston using a drill press. Filler crooks are inserted into the portholes. They are expanded to the strict interior dimensions desired for that particular bore size, while heads and caps are pressed onto the piston. All of these parts are secured permanently with silver solder. The excess casing is trimmed from the piston and the sharp edges are chamfered or rounded to improve the piston's fit and action. A precise cut, known as a tree pan, is made in the piston head, and the piston is checked for leaks. To function smoothly, pistons need to have a flawless surface. That's achieved in this grinding operation. To ensure precision, each piston is hand-checked on a shadow graph, and each porthole is deburred by hand. Meanwhile, the spring barrel is being made from brass tubing. The keyway for the valve guide is broached on a stamping machine, and it is threaded to accept the valve stem. All parts are soldered together and checked for accuracy. The valve casing begins to take shape on a tracer lathe. For the piston to function smoothly, the fit inside the casing must be precise, so the bore of the casing is reamed at several stages, each to more exacting tolerances. As with the pistons, portholes are drilled in the casings, and crooks are installed for the first, second, and third slides, the mouthpipe, and the bell. To create a more solid valve cluster, the assembly is dipped into flux, and the soldering actually occurs inside the casing. You'll remember that a trumpet's bore is a measurement of the inside diameter of the second valve slide. This diameter is balled out on a special machine designed by Bach engineers that also sets the alignment of all outside crooks. All ports are deburred by hand before final assembly, where the inside of the valve casing is honed once again, this time to a maximum clearance of 5/10,000ths of an inch. Pistons are honed for a final time too. Finally, each piston is matched to its specific valve, and the entire assembly is carefully hand-lapped with a fine mixture of pumice and lard oil. The instrument's finish can affect its sound too. Bach professional trumpets receive a clear-baked cellulose lacquer or silver-plated finish, or the ultimate, gold plating. Even two-tone combinations are available. These platings not only preserve the instrument's beauty, but provide excellent resonance as well.
You can see the exacting care and craftsmanship that go into the manufacture of every single Bach brass instrument. It's really quite amazing when you think about it, the time and patience that go into making just one instrument.
From the very earliest stages of manufacturing, through each careful step in the process, each Vincent Bach trumpet is made with the strictest attention to quality. Each is play tested to ensure that when it leaves our plant, it's worthy of the name and legacy of Vincent Bach, the man who more than any other shaped the way today's brass instruments are designed.
And each is made for one reason and one reason alone, to provide a lifetime of beautiful individual musical expression. How do you decide which one will let you best express yourself musically? Well, that's all a matter of individual taste. The very best way to decide is to experiment with a number of horns and select the one that most appeals to you. But there are a few guidelines you can follow. Remember these simple rules when selecting your Bach brass instrument.
Standard yellow brass instruments produce a lively sound and a solid tone. Gold brass bells have a round, sonorous quality that is less brilliant and offer greater carrying power. The Sterling Plus bells provide rich, full overtones and enhanced projection. Silver plating slightly brightens the sound, while gold plating darkens the sound. The weight of the bell can affect the tone. Lightweight bells produce brighter tones, while heavy bells darken the tone. Also, remember the importance of flare in the bell and taper in the lead pipe. A fast flare or taper yields a warmer, darker tone. The more gradual, the brighter the tone. And remember our discussion of bore. Instruments with a smaller bore will usually offer more resistance to blow against and produce a compact tone, while larger bore instruments usually require more blowing effort and may give a darker, more open sound.
In general, symphonic players prefer a darker, richer tone, while jazz players opt for more brilliance. But the sound that's best for you is a matter of your individual taste and the style of the band or orchestra you're playing with. Vincent Bach makes a diverse family of trumpets, cornets, and flugelhorns in a variety of bore sizes, lead pipes, and bells. And if you can't find exactly what you want, we'll make it especially for you right here at the Bach Pro Specialty Shop, a unique separate part of the Bach factory.
At the Bach Shop, musicians from across the world test and choose from an even greater variety of customized options and consult with expert Bach craftspeople to turn their ideas into reality. And that's really what it's all about, isn't it? Turning your ideas into reality. Taking the music you hear inside your head and making it real for all the world to hear. That's our goal at the Selmer Company.
That's the legacy of Vincent Bach, the man who did more for brass instrument design and manufacture than any other person in this century. That's the ultimate test of the quality of our products.
Need more information to help you select the Bach instrument that's right for you? call us and we'll send you our latest catalogs and the name of the Bach dealer nearest you. We also encourage you to visit your local Selmer dealer and personally audition Bach's fine line of trumpets.
We hope you've enjoyed this brief guide to Bach Trumpets, and we hope it helps you decide which instrument best suits your needs. Talk to us if you have any questions, because Vincent Bach instruments from the Selmer Company are made to perform, and we'd love to make one for you.